Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. Starting off with Wednesday, March 4th. Iran has started deploying Afghan Shiite forces to spread its control in southern Syria. This is the first mention of Iranian-trained, armed, and sponsored Afghan units fighting in Syria. Then on Thursday, March 5th, Egypt scaled back its military presence in the Sinai Peninsula, redeploying troops to its western border with Libya in a bid to combat Islamic State fighters. Israeli security officials are concerned that the reduced Egyptian military presence in northern Sinai might enable terrorist groups to carry out attacks against Israel. Then on Friday, March 6th, a Palestinian rammed his car into a train station after plowing into a group of female border police officers in northern Jerusalem, wounding 5 officers and an Israeli civilian. The terrorist was shot and seriously wounded by a border guard. A large cleaver was found on his body after the attack, which he attempted to use after crashing his car. The incident took place on the Jewish holiday of Purim, when the streets of Jerusalem are packed with pedestrians. Also, Israel's defense ministry has doubled the number of parts orders for Merkava tanks and Namer armored personnel carriers ahead of an expected rise in orders for complete tanks and APCs. And the situation in Syria, where Iran is taking over the reins, is becoming a strategic threat to Israel. Iran now claims an arc of influence that stretches from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. For example, in Iraq, Iranians coordinate 100,000 Iraqi fighters mobilized by Iranian allied clerics to confront Islamic State. In Yemen, a Shiite movement styled on Hezbollah, a group Iran midwifed in Lebanon, ousted the Yemeni president and the government with the help of Iranian-provided weapons and money. And in Syria, Iranian military advisors helped defend President Assad by coordinating Hezbollah fighters from Lebanon, Shiite militias from Iraq, and fighters from Afghanistan. Iran's fingerprints are everywhere. Its activities expand throughout the region, mostly around Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, Yemen, the Gulf, Syria, and Lebanon, where it is involved in politics, media, oil, weaponry, and religion, and is currently in an offensive state, the likes of which have not been seen in modern history. Fatah's armed wing in Gaza carried out a military exercise on Friday, simulating the takeover and bombing of IDF positions, Lebanon's TV station Al Mayadeen reported on Sunday. Then on Saturday, March 7th, 2 large explosions were followed by the sight of bulldozers as ISIS began demolishing the ancient archaeological site of Hatra. That's 110 kilometers, or 68 miles, southwest of the city of Mosul in northern Iraq. The Sunni extremist group has been campaigning to purge ancient relics that they say promote idolatry, which violates their fundamentalist interpretation of Islamic law. Then on Sunday, March 8th, 8 dead bodies were seen hanging from a metal frame with the notorious black flag of ISIS suspended above them in the Iraqi city of HalleluYah, the Islamic State's latest display of barbarity. Iran unveiled a new long-range surface-launched land attack cruise missile on Sunday, which can strike targets beyond 2,000 kilometers. And then on Monday, yesterday, March 9th, Hamas is engaging great efforts in rebuilding its system of tunnels in Gaza, employing hundreds of Palestinian workers with numerous trucks, tractors, and heavy machinery. Gaza residents have noted that the areas near the Israeli border are teeming with trucks moving earth. Hamas has declared the areas off limits and has posted guards to stand watch. And in a tunnel dug deep underneath Gaza, masked gunmen from Islamic Jihad are transporting rockets and mortars back and forth, preparing for the next conflict with Israel. PA President Mahmoud Abbas is behind a security operation in the West Bank that saw PA forces arrest dozens of Hamas operatives early on Monday, who were planning to carry out attacks in the coming week. Turning to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In my opinion, my friends, Benjamin Netanyahu is one of the last great men in history. I can't think of any other man on the political stage these days who exudes such integrity and sincerity, or who speaks with such admirable eloquence about the concerns of our world today. He gave his speech at the House of Representatives last Tuesday, and he explained that instead of stopping Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, the bad deal being negotiated with Iran would all but guarantee that Iran does get their nuclear weapons, which in turn would set off a regional arms race. He received a succession of standing ovations as he told the lawmakers, quote, "This deal won't be a farewell to arms. It would be a farewell to arms control. It doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb. It paves Iran's path to the bomb." Close quote. Netanyahu's speech enunciated the profound misjudgment of Iran, its ideology, its goals, and the immense danger it imposes on Israel, the United States, and the world at large. But Netanyahu did not just trash the nuclear deal with Iran and leave no room for negotiations. He held on to the ideal of a peaceful resolution of the conflict via a negotiated deal with Iran, proposing that we do not lift sanctions until the Iranians stop their aggression. Netanyahu managed to hit the nail right on the head when he said that the countries of the Middle East are collapsing and that, quote, "terror organizations mostly backed by Iran are filling in the vacuum," close quote. In just a very few carefully delivered words, Netanyahu managed to accurately summarize a very clear and present danger. To say that Netanyahu's address to Congress was well received would be an understatement. The lawmakers who did not attend were hardly missed at all, and U.S. Senator Democratic leader Harry Reid, who has not been well, made a special effort to attend. Unfortunately, President Obama's response to Netanyahu's speech was, quote, "The Prime Minister didn't offer any viable alternatives," close quote. As if you did, President Obama. But that's the farthest thing, of course, from the truth. Netanyahu proposed a conditional sunset and smaller infrastructure, and if the Iranians walk away, then you ratchet up sanctions as Congress is urging, which with collapsed oil prices would render the regime extremely vulnerable. And if that doesn't work, Netanyahu's final point was that Israel is prepared to stand alone. And that bold statement was met with ardent and vigorous applause, which reflected a boundless rise of popular support for Netanyahu. It was an important moment, principally because of the libel being inflicted by some that Netanyahu is trying to get America to go to war with Iran. Please, in Israel's nearly 70-year history, not one single time has Israel ever asked America to fight for it. Before Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to Congress last Tuesday, the debate on nuclear Iran centered on technical, unknowable issues, like the number of centrifuges and the level of uranium enrichment. But on Tuesday, Netanyahu made the issue of the agreement's expiration date the key objection to the deal. Benjamin Netanyahu is a brilliant man, my friends. And that is the newscast for this week. Abba willing, I'll see you here next week. And until then, shalom, my friends.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath the naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.